Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, this is BestInSlot, and today we're going to talk about the leak, and I say that in inverted commas, about the terrain tools for Jurassic World Evolution. It all stems from this image on the subreddit by Siakas, who knew exactly what he was doing. He posted a few lines of code, a few files that have been downloaded within the game. Now these are files that everyone has access to in theory, everyone has downloaded these are part of Jurassic World Evolution, they're all there for everybody who plays the game. It didn't require any malfeasance to access, is what I'm trying to say here. And people are very excited about these tools, because there's two lines in particular that are exciting, which is add rock and add sand. So we've come to Isla Muerta to have a look at what those would look like, because this is probably the best place you can see both the rock texture and the sand texture. There's also brushes in there that account for opacity and size, which you can kind of see as you look along here, how the grass is kind of on top of the rock texture a little bit, and the sand kind of moves up from the side. It looks really nice. If we could have just these two as terrain tools in the game, obviously I think most of us are hoping for a little bit more than that, but even if it was just those two, I think it would do so much for our exhibit design and just general creativity. Again, I'd like placeable rocks and more foliage and stuff like that, but this would definitely be a good start. So that's really cool, that you can see those in the game and that there's opacity and all this stuff. But I'm afraid this is a bad news, good news kind of situation. So the good news is those tools do exist and they do make stuff that looks like this. And if we were going to get terrain tools in summer, which again I'm very confident that we are, it makes sense that they'd look like this, right? It makes sense that they would match the islands already in the game. That would make a lot of sense. So I think we can safely assume that. The bad news, folks, is twofold. A, those terrain tools have been in the game a long time. People were discovering them months ago. And the reasoning for that, the reason they've been in the game for a long time, is they are simply that. They are dev kit tools. And to be fair to Siakas, they tried to make this very apparent in their Reddit post. These are not for general consumption. These will never be for general consumption. Now that's kind of a lie. So they're working on terrain tools for summer, and what they may be doing is taking these dev kit tools and adapting them for general use, giving them a UI and making them suitable for us, the general public, to use in our games. But the point I'm trying to make is their presence in the files right now doesn't signify a bloody thing, basically. It signifies nothing. This is not a leak. This isn't new information. I'm sorry. I know it's disappointing for people, but it's true. The files have been there for a long time. And what they are is simply how Frontier build their own maps. When Frontier came to make Isla Muerta, they used those dev kit tools. They made a big paintbrush for sand, and they painted it, and they painted on the rock, and that's how they build their maps in the first place. Now, you might be wondering, well, why are those in the game now? Also, how did I just do that and get over it? You may be wondering, well, why are they in the game now if they're just for making maps? They're not still making maps. Why don't they have their own tool? And this is kind of just a side effect of how Frontier codes or how Jurassic World Evolution is built. There is a lot of dev test stuff still in Jurassic World Evolution, stuff that we will never see, we will never have access to, but there's tons of it still in the base code of Jurassic World Evolution. For example, one of the early trailers for Jurassic World Evolution showed a camouflage skin Velociraptor, like a green and blue camouflage sort of skin, and it never made it into the final game. But the test dinosaur, when the devs spawn in a dinosaur for testing, is actually that Velociraptor. So the skin does exist, and we all have the files, but they're locked away for dev testing purposes, which I'm sure is going to annoy a couple of people, but c'est la vie. So my point is, there's a lot of dev test stuff that is still in the game. The way I think of it is like this, and I'm not a coder, I'm not a game dev, I don't really know anything for sure, except what I'm telling you right now, but this is a little bit speculative. But if you look at the creation engine for Skyrim, I don't know how many people have used it, or the creation engine for Bethesda games. It's basically a dev kit that everyone can download and use to make their own dungeons and stuff, and it's also how Bethesda made their dungeons. They used the creation engine toolkit that we got access to as modders, and it's a really, really cool toolkit. For Jurassic World Evolution, you have to imagine that the game we downloaded has that toolkit folded into it, but it's locked off to the public, basically. That's how I'm seeing it. Now, somebody who's a little bit more familiar with how the game is built may be able to correct me on that, but it's like if Skyrim had the creation engine included within it, but you couldn't access it. That's kind of the same thing, and that's where those dev kit tools, like the terrain tools people are getting very excited about, that's where they're located. So, not open to the public, and they mean nothing at all for the development of terrain tools for us. Saying all that, I do believe we're getting terrain tools. I just think people are getting excited about something that doesn't actually mean anything, and I kind of wanted to address it given how many people have commented to me about it. And that's about it. Now, a few other people, just to address this super quickly, a few people posted on the subreddit saying to include them in the video and stuff like that, which I thought was kind of sweet. And like, okay, yes, I've become very predictable, but beside that, I'm never going to do stuff like that just because I really like the subreddit in general. You know, well, when there's updates and stuff going on anyway. And I don't really want it to become a thing where any new update just gets spammed with please include me in the video and stuff like that. What I will specifically do is start including people who make good, insightful, logical comments and ignore everyone who tells me to include them. And that's nothing personal, it's just for the good of the subreddit. That's not something we want to see. We don't want people spamming those comments every time there's an update because, you know, why would we? That's not good for the health of the subreddit. So we're going to do that. There were two more, again, I'm going to say leaks in inverted commas recently. There was the 4chan leak, which I wasn't going to talk about, but it doesn't seem to be that big a deal, so we are going to talk about that in the coming days. And the Euoplocephalus has more leaked information, and we'll probably talk about that tomorrow. I'm going to try to stay on top of these a little bit better than I have been doing. Apologies for that. But I just wanted to talk about this. I'm sorry to crush any hopes, but in my opinion, this doesn't really make a difference because I do believe terrain tools are coming in summer, and they probably will look like this. It's just that those files don't mean anything. That's all I'm saying. So thank you for joining me. If you did enjoy this mildly depressing video, please do hit the like button, and I will see you lovely folks next time. Cheers much as always. Bye-bye. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to help support me a little bit more, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. There's a link in the description down below. Every little really does help in times like these, but it's not at all expected, and by just watching the video you've already helped me out massively, and it makes you a pretty cool person, so well done you. Thanks for joining me either way, I'll see you next time.